Greetings, everyone. The only way you can guarantee tomorrow will be better is if you do something to improve today. Do you know who you are? Do you know what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Do you know what is a leadership and how to get leadership qualities? If you want to get answers of all these questions, please stay with us. In case you don't know me, I am Muhammad Yousaf from Islamabad, Pakistan. I am founder of Integrated Success Formula, founder of Integrated Success Marketing, and host of Instant Publicity Interviews. Today we have a very special guest. He is certified coach from John Maxwell. He is co-founder of Key Leadership Institute, founder of JR Speakers Club. He has done so many things that I cannot even describe in this short period of time. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our today's guest, Jan Robert. Welcome, Jane.
It's Jan, but thank you very much. Salam, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to start leadership program?
Oh, that's a very good question. Now, for me, there is many stories to this, but I'll just take one. I started actually personal development when I was 17. I was bullied as a little kid, and I knew things had to change. So already at 17, I made a decision that this couldn't go on any longer, and I started. Somebody gave me a personal development book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and that started me on a quest. Shortly after that, I stopped buying newspapers. I haven't bought a newspaper since. It's many years now. Since I was 17. But I also, in my job, I used to be in the oil industry in pipeline inspection, and I spent 10 months of the year in hotel rooms or 6, 8 weeks offshore. And I had a lot of time on my hands, even though we were working 12-hour shifts the rest of the time. What do you do? So I did a lot of studying, and I always knew that I should have been doing something more than I was doing. I never hated my job because I did a lot of training and development as well with my colleagues, and eventually landed in project management. But I actually, I started coaching training in 2009. I did 2 years of this, again, only because I heard somebody say, do you want to become a better listener and learn to ask better questions? Now, I was a personal development freak, somebody might say. So I thought, okay, and this was coaching. So I did 2 years of coaching training. After that, somebody invited me to a mastermind, an online mastermind. There was, I think, people from 6 different countries from around the world. And it happened to be the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. I already had some of his books and the thousands of books I have, because I bought books instead of newspapers, invested in me. And then I thought, okay, and I was already kind of leading in our organization as well in different fields. So I thought, okay, and I listened to John Maxwell, a video they sent me, and I thought, I want to be part of this, because what he said was, as he's the #1 leader in the world, a leadership expert. He's written more than 120 books on the subject. But what he said got me. He says, I want to leave a difference. I want to make a difference and leave a legacy. Now that spoke to me. I mean, money was never a motivator to me, and don't get me wrong, money is very important. It's my other mentor and friend, Les Brown, says it's up there with oxygen in importance. But I got involved in the team in 2012, became an executive director and president advisory council member in the team. And that's basically where my leadership journey really evolved. I read a lot of books about personal development, leadership, success stories, that kind of thing. But this is where, so that's now 8 years ago, it really started to get a serious grip of me.
Okay, great. You have very impressive story, by the way. This is so nice to listen to your transformation, Jane. What are your immediate plans to grow your business and Key Leadership Institute?
Crisis we've got around the world, and I mean, I'm part of a few groups where we speak into probably some of your followers and people in Pakistan a lot, and we need to go online as we are doing right now. I realized that our programs, we've been talking about it for quite a while, but we ended up, like, we're doing leadership solutions, communication, youth development, values-based leadership, coaching, training, motivational speaking, and all of that was in front of people physically. But we always knew that we should bring at least a certain amount of our programs online so we can reach more people in different areas where we are not. And I travel a lot around the world as well doing these kind of things. But of course, now we're all on lockdown here as well. I'm in South Africa at the moment. We're on day 6 or 7 now. I can't even remember. I just remember it's Friday because every day starts to look the same. But, you know, I see our organization growing in a way that we can reach people, for example, in Pakistan, in the communities, not only in the big cities as well, but in the communities all over the world, really, where we can make a difference and make an impact in their personal development, in their leadership style, in their communication, in their development of their basic values system, which is huge. Because that was another part in my development. In 2013, we went to John Maxwell asked for the volunteers in his mentorship team to come and help start transformation of an entire country. And I thought, well, I might never be asked this again. So I volunteered. And in June, we went to Guatemala. Now, Guatemala, 14 million people, average age 20. So you can imagine the problems I had. But we trained 19,000 people in 3 days in a process that I first saw there. And this is also, by the way, the process I want to bring to Pakistan. And on the way home, I quit my job. It left such an impression on me. John Maxwell talked about, you know, once you've tasted significant, success will never be enough. Now, for your viewers and listeners, the difference between success and significance is that success is for yourself. Significance if you start doing for some things for something else. And it doesn't need to be huge things, but even small things can give you significance. And I think really everybody wants to have that feeling of significance, that they matter, that you know, that their journey on this earth has got some importance. So I want to, in that development, we are seeing that we want to bring these kind of programs to many more people to help them to get that same feeling as I got, that feeling of significance. And I have it often, because there is nothing better than to see other people succeed, knowing that you've only been a tiny part of that success, but you've helped them on their way, you've made them see, you've given them a vision, you've given them a purpose, you've given them a combined purpose. And I also know that there is a purpose in Pakistan where they now want to train 1 million leaders. And this is going to be something tremendous. And where does leadership start? Leadership around the world is failing because of lack of values. So values is basic human values is where it all starts. So if you can build a foundation on values, and when we talk about this in these processes, the real leaders will start to come to the fore very quickly. So this is what we see. Our goal has always been to impact and transform millions of lives around the world so they can live a life of significance. And I say not just live a life of success, but if they start to live a life of significance, that means that they are going to touch other people. And that's what our real aim is, that we don't do this ourselves. We need the teams, we need people together from all parts of the world, from all different countries, so we can do this all together.
Oh, great. You have wonderful plans to grow your business, and you're doing a lot of things. What is the punchline of Key Leadership Institute that people are going to learn from it?
Ooh. Well, we have a like a punchline. We have a motto, and it is impact before profit. I think Zig Ziglar said this many years ago: if you help enough other people to get what they want, you will get what you want. And as I said, you know, impact before profit. That doesn't mean I don't want to become a billionaire. And the only reason I would want to become a billionaire because we can do so much more good with money than without it. But I mean, it's still to be able to impact people's lives. And me and my partner both, we work towards this. My partner at the moment is writing a book about compassionate leadership, which is coming out later this year, and it's going to be amazing. But it talks into those kind of things, you know, to be more, as humans, to be more compassionate, to be more in touch with humanity, because we have all our technology. But I think one thing this is teaching us, this period, is that there is a reset button where not only are we using technology, but we need to get back to the human touch. And here we get a perfect opportunity to combine it, to reach other people for just the connection, for just a human touch, just to show that they matter and that we're still thinking about them, but also that we can deal with them and we can teach and train and facilitate and work together on a global scale. And that's very important.
Okay, as a leadership coach, what are top 3 mistakes to avoid in our professional life so we can avoid?
One of the mistakes, and that's not only leadership, that's in entrepreneurial life as well, because many people want to become entrepreneurs, but I think one of the mistakes is thinking we can do it on our own, and thinking we have to do it on our own. It's part of that same mistake. No man is an island, and I think, we can get so much guidance and support from people who've walked the walk before us. So to try and reinvent the wheel is a mistake, and to think we need to do it all on our own. Maybe we have to start by ourselves, but we need to start working together. And I think that's, for me, is one. Communicate well. The mistake is that we don't communicate with each other. And if you're building teams, you said leadership especially, if you're building teams, the best leaders are the best communicators. The best leaders are the best relationship builders. And how do you build relationships? By communicating with people. How do you do that? Ask the right kind of questions and start listening to people. And so I think that is also very important. Another big mistake is, and that is that number 2, is that think that these people are only working for you, they're only numbers. No. John Maxwell always says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, but it's influence with people, not over people. And how do you get influence with people? Build relationships. So I think maybe the way to say it best is what I've just said, is treat people with respect and show people that you care. Because if you show them that you care, they will care for you in return. And it doesn't work the other way around. That's number 2. Number 3, build other leaders. The biggest mistake is to try keep other people down. There is, for a lot of organizations, there is no succession planning. So I think it is very important that you lift other people up, because as a leader, it is not great leadership if you run to the finishing line on your own. You might go faster and further, but you better walk together. So as a leader, you need to lift people up with you. And the best kind of leaders, John Maxwell describes it in the 5 levels of leadership. The best kind of leaders not only build the best relationships, but they build leaders who are going to be better than them. Now that takes courage, because a lot of people think that we need to I might lose my job if I build people who are going to be better than me. If I was your employer, I would keep you, because if you can do that without actually feeling guilty and you lift people up, you are needed more than most other people. But it is, again, it's maybe sometimes a lack of self-esteem. So I think if people can actually build people, and leaders build leaders to the point where they actually get much better than them, then as a leader, you really succeed. Now, there's plenty of other things, but I think these 3 came to mind first.
Being a leader, what is the importance of being healthy?
It's all important. And I mean, it's shown no more important than at this time, as you all realize as well. And I think it's no country is escaping this, including Pakistan. And I think it's no more than ever become apparent that health is all important, because if it's wonderful that we're going to create people who are starting to build a relationship, people who are going to work together, people who are doing something for their family, their communities, and indeed their corporations and countries. But what good is that if you're going to stay unhealthy and you can't give it your fullest? You lack energy when you're unhealthy. You are more susceptible to any kind of disease, including this virus, as we all know. You are doing a disservice to humanity if you actually don't take care of your own health. And it's very difficult. Sometimes it's very difficult, but also very important, because a lot of leadership is, especially when you move up the ladders, leadership is a lonely job. There is leaders who have had to make decisions at this time that are not popular, but they had to make the decisions, and when they do, in long term, people will see, yes, he made the right decision. But you're going to upset some people. I mean, lockdown has upset a lot of people, because a lot of people will lose their jobs, their businesses, and everything because of lockdown. But in the long term, when they see that the countries who started late, and I'm talking about the US at the moment, having already 250,000 people who got the virus now because of their, not inability, but their reluctance to do what other countries have done. I don't say it's lack of leadership. I'll leave that to the politicians and to everybody else. But it is so important that we can, when it's lonely, and you get more stress, of course. So if you want to take these stresses, you need to learn to take care of your health. You need to learn how to de-stress at the end of the day, and you need to have some alone time to reflect, some alone time to think about what you've done during the day. How did I get on? What did I not do well? What can I do better tomorrow? But you need to be flexible as well. Especially this time, I do a mastermind now, which I'm starting next week, and it's talking about leading through crisis. And it's going to be 5 weeks of 90 minutes a week, and it's going to talk exactly into what to do during this time. But now more than ever, leaders need to be visible. They need to stand up and stand out. And you can do that much better if you're healthy, because it helps your confidence. It helps you to go home at night and have some of that me time, which even under these stressful situations, you can cope better with everything that goes on if you stay healthy, physically, mentally, and indeed spiritually. Whatever that means for the people, it means different to different people, but all three areas need to be taken care of. And that might be, for some people, spiritually might just be doing yoga or meditation or whatever it is, or some of them use their religion for their spiritual help and growth. But whatever it is, all three areas, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And those are totally different areas, but you need to take care of them all.
Perfect. Thank you. You are sharing your wisdom. What is the single most failure in your professional life? What lesson have you learned? And how did you recover from it?
There's been a few. And I mean, because we continue to make them, and I think experience is actually learning from your mistakes. And unfortunately, the experience comes after making the mistakes, not before. And I think, especially in this time where people are looking to become entrepreneurs, to become leaders, to become to step up on the level just now, because there is in this time, of course, there is two kinds of people. There's people who wonder how long is this going to go on. And there's other people who say, how can I grow and use this as a stepping stone while this is there? So by the time we come out to the other end, because this too shall pass, I want to be better. And whether that means becoming an entrepreneur or starting your own business one way or another, or becoming better employees or better employers or better leaders, where I left my job, it is so different being in a job than being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, because all of a sudden, you leave your job, and I had no real strategy, because, as I said, when I went to Guatemala, and I've been to other countries to help start transformation since. But when I went to Guatemala and I quit on the way home, I, as a project manager, had to finish projects until the next year in 2014. But the only thing I knew, it was very simple to me. I thought about it for a long time, and I said to myself, if not now, then when? Because we all keep making excuses why we cannot do different things, whatever it is, but we never look at the reasons why we should, and they should be stronger. If you've got a purpose and a vision, and you know your why, and Simon Sinek talks into that in a way, amazing YouTube. So I quit. I had no strategy. Maybe that was part of my mistake. But the second one was that not knowing what it takes to become a real entrepreneur, because I woke up the next morning and the boss looked at the mirror and he looked back at me and now what? So it is so different to start making all the decisions and start doing these kind of things. And I'm fortunate. I've got a great partner who had already had a training company for 20 years, diversity and inclusion. And we met at John Maxwell Leadership Training in Orlando, and that's when we decided to start our key leadership institute together. But she had been a business owner, and very successfully so for 20 years. And if that hadn't been the case, I would have hated to think what would have happened in this period. I've developed, but it took time. And I thought, I think for most people to learn from my mistakes, if you are going to be self-employed, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a business owner, and you have never done that before, really find out what it takes. Really find out that you're going to become the accountant, you're going to become your own boss, you're going to be your own salesman at first, you're going to be all those kind of things which you probably never done before. So find out what it takes, and even go and practice, but make sure you fully understand. And I didn't do that. And as I said, if it hadn't been for my partner, I probably would have struggled for a lot longer. But and it took long enough. She was very patient with me. More patient than I would have been with myself. But I fully admit that this is something that I have got thank my partner for. And I think for your viewers and listeners, make sure you don't be perfect, because it's better done than perfect. But at least knowing this, that there is a lot of things you as an entrepreneur need to do that you never did as an employee, but make sure that you at least know what is expected. Talk to other entrepreneurs, talk to business owners, and ask them those kind of questions. What will it take? But the one thing it will take, which I have, and that got me through there, is that purpose, that's never quit idea. Because I think if you, it is wonderful to run a business and to work in a business when everything goes well, but it's when things are not going well, that's when the leaders stand up. By the way, real leaders surface, like Churchill during the war. Real leaders surface when things don't go well. And I believe a lot of leaders will come out of this virus you've never heard of before, you've never seen. All of a sudden they become visible because they feel it's their time. And I had that drive, that purpose, that vision, that I wanted to impact millions of lives. And I wasn't going to do by quitting and stopping and say, go back to a job. I've been offered amazing jobs since, but I knew, if not now, then when? But you need that consistency, that persistence, and that'll drive you through.
This is the lesson for everyone to learn from your experience. Thank you so much. Now, someone who is watching this right now, how can they support you?
They can support me by the first thing I always want to say to people when they watch this, I hope they get something out of these kind of lessons and start implementing it in their lives. Because the best thing for me is if they're going to make a difference in their own lives to become better leaders, because we're all leaders, by the way. Yeah. Leadership is not a title, leadership is a behavior. So we're all leaders, and I know you're very much into youth development as well, and which is another subject for another day, which we do as well. But if even as youth, there is many youth who will be leading through this. But I think, research for yourself, and the way they can help me best is by becoming better themselves. Because you mentioned it already, and I've said it before a few times. The one day you can guarantee tomorrow will be better if you do something to become better today. That's the only guarantee. And if it's to be, it's up to me. So we need to do that. And the next thing is, at some point, if it's going to come, if people who are watching this want to start becoming part of this values-based leadership program, and it's called, we've renamed it Sustainable Personal Development, where they want to become part of this, and this is this values program. And I would look forward to accommodating and start giving them some guidance on how to become part of virtual roundtables, so they can become part of the transformation of their community, their organization, and indeed eventually Pakistan.
Yeah, thank you. I request everyone to connect Jane on LinkedIn as well, and follow his Facebook page. Oh, so what would you say as a final word?
But one thing I would like to say as a final word, first of all, they can actually, if anybody wants a free ebook, which we've written with 7 case studies, some of them involving values-based leadership and 2 other programs, they can go to www.keyleadership.com and they fill in their name and address, and they automatically get a free ebook. And the final thing I want to say is, whatever situation you're in just now, we know that there's a lot of people fearful about their jobs, fearful about their business and everything. Wherever you are just now, never give up hope, because I'm going to talk about the value of hope actually tomorrow. But where there is hope in the future, there's power in the present. Never give up. Support each other whenever you can. Connect with each other in this time of need. There is more people needing connection. Be that connected, and give hope to other people as well. We've all got it in us. Let's spread some good news.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane, for sharing your wisdom with us on behalf of Integrated Success Formula and my entire team. Thank you.